Hi everyone, Holly Kerwin here, just with a very brief message about one strategy for managing anxiety today. I'm seeing loads of anxiety. I mean, of course, it's endemic anyway, but I think at the moment with the pandemic and with so many people in lockdown, that and certainly, my heart goes out to people in Sydney with the lockdown that keeps getting extended there. But anxiety just keeps going up and up, and it's often one of the most prevalent things that we see at Northside. One of the most prevalent presentations, that people come in for. Personally, I love working with anxiety because there's so much that we can do to assist people, and and obviously we need to unpack the past. We need to understand, where this has come from. The factors that are maintaining the anxiety, what's perpetuating the anxiety. The different factors that precipitate the anxiety. But with all of that being said, there are some simple techniques that we can start to wrap into an overall broader therapeutic plan um, once a case formulation has been done. And that's around, sitting down with a client, figuring out the client's goals, what they're wanting to get out of this, what all of those factors are that I just described previously that might have led to the anxiety, and then actually coming up with a plan of, okay, this is where you are, this is where you want to get to, how are we going to get you there? And one of the things that I love being able to assist people with in this process is just learning some simple strategies that they can take away with them and use at home or anywhere. Whether they're lined up and waiting at the supermarket or whatever it is. If they're starting to feel a little bit anxious, there are some simple things that can be brought into place that can help to reduce that anxiety and make that experience better. And overall, every time that this is done, we start to weaken that whole anxiety response and that sort of hair triggered response that can happen in the brain. So, with practice, it actually can get easier to manage as well, simply because of wiring in the brain. So, one of the things that I think is really important to reflect on is that, when we're getting anxious about the fact that we're anxious, of course, we're going to feel more anxiety, right? So these things just can really spin up very quickly and get more and more out of control. Similarly, when we understand how to bring that down, we can bring it down at times pretty quickly as well. But we need to know how, and we need to, not freak out about the fact that we're freaking out, right? Otherwise, it just starts to spin it, and the whole smart part of the brain goes offline, and it just becomes more and more difficult to manage. So it's really important to remember with anxiety. I think to come back to really being present, not worrying about the future, not worrying about the past, but actually just being very grounded in the present. And one way that we can do that and to be able to slice through and make this more manageable is by really starting to observe the self. So if you're noticing that you're getting hooked up in your worries about something, if you're noticing that you're judging yourself, if you're noticing that you're starting to, you know, um, observe sensations in the body that feel like anxiety, and then you start to think, oh gosh, I'm starting to get more anxious and up at whooshes, um, then if you can come back and just observe and say to yourself, I'm just noticing I'm a bit anxious now, or there's that old feeling again, that's fine, I know what to do, I'm just going to ground and breathe. Then often we can slice through and we're not getting anxious about the fact that we're anxious. Okay. And rather than going down or even going up a path, a trajectory of escalating it, we're actually able to bring it down by observing the sensations without getting hooked in them and without judging them, by observing the thoughts that we're having, by observing the feelings. So, in a sense, it's almost like if we can just watch these things just bubble up, a bit like bubbles coming up in a glass, and just watching them come up and just popping without hanging on to them, then in a sense they're just coming and going. At the end of the day, if we don't hang on to thoughts, then they're not going to cause additional distress. If we just observe them without getting hooked, without judging, but just allowing them to come and go, then they're not going to have the same power that we could otherwise attribute to them or give them. It's like breathing oxygen into a fire. Okay, so really just observing, allowing them to come and go. And then I like to combine that with breathing and other things as well to be able to ground and to come back down. And even sometimes just noticing and naming and giving it, like actually giving it a funny name, or a bit of a story. Even just saying something like, "Oh, thanks, brain," here it goes again, or, you know, um, I don't know, there's Joe, whatever it might be, actually naming it so that you can notice and name it. Something that for you is a little bit funny, a little bit humorous, because then it really helps to take the power out of that distress, and just, starts to give you a little bit of a different perspective, gets you unhooked from that emotion so that you're not feeling as though you're being dragged along by it, but instead giving yourself a little bit of distance, putting it out there, sort of out here, wherever in front of you, so that it's not here in your face, and you can actually just observe. Okay, there it is again. That's interesting. You know, not getting hooked in it, not getting distressed about the fact that there it is again, but putting it out there to separate from yourself, so that you can actually respond and not react. Anyway, happy Friday, everyone. I hope you have a great day, and I'll check back in with another little snippet a little bit down the track as I start to build a bit of a library of hopefully some helpful techniques for people. Bye.